Hello, Old School RuneScape, and welcome to this week's stream. And it's the first stream of 2021. We're delighted to be back on your screens and to see you all. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the other pleasantries we missed. I am delighted to be joined by my guest, Mod Ash, Mod Kieren,
Hello.
Mod Ayiza.
Howdy.
Behind the scenes, we've got Mod Sani on the chat, so at Old School RS, should you want to ask us any questions. We've got Mod Spear, and we've got somebody else new, and I don't know their mod name, I'm afraid, but they're here too. Doesn't have one. We'll get one for them. First of all, let's begin with the announcements, and Mod Kieren has boldly volunteered to take these, so take us away, Mod Kieren.
Volunteering is a stretch of the truth there, Sween. But look at the bottom of the screen, you can see Soul Wars. Why is there a Soul Wars icon? Well, that's because we launched Soul Wars yesterday. Soul Wars is finally here. Take to the battlefield and fight in this 60 versus 60 classic minigame. Brought back for old school. Use ! Soul Wars to find out more. Hell yeah, it's been an exciting launch. So, mad day yesterday seeing how packed the world's got. I think one of the worlds got to 2,000 players straight away, so it was wild. Anniversary, on the other hand, RuneScape is 20 years old. Isn't that ridiculous? It feels absolutely ridiculous. It was 20 on the 4th of January. And you know what? That's insane. It really is. So not only did Soul Wars come out yesterday, obviously, we also had a 20th anniversary event. So to celebrate a whopping 20 years of RuneScape, Ash brought you this really special 20th anniversary event, and I've seen the love that it's got is absolutely incredible. So we don't want to spoil too much, so jump in game and help out our classic Gnome Child return home. And you know what goes really well for 20th anniversary? How about some 20th anniversary merch? Smooth transition. Look at that. So, use !merch to grab yourself some exclusive goods like the Tutorial Island 20th anniversary pin, the gold vinyl edition of the RuneScape original soundtrack, or pick your side with the Avatar of Creation or Destruction pins. I love that gold vinyl. Looks sick.
I couldn't decide between the pins, so I just bought all of them.
You are now short on money.
Legit.
All your Christmas money has been spent wisely, if I may add.
It's worth it, though.
I love the 20th anniversary pin. Looks insane, especially. But yeah, finally, just as a quick recap, before we went away for Christmas, you voted in quite a few content polls. So make sure to look forward to combat achievements, the fishing skill boss Temperos, and the new Zaya quest, A Kingdom Divided. Absolutely amazing content coming up, and it's so exciting seeing the developers all working on it back at their desks at home, and it's coming along really, really well.
I had a little playtest actually this afternoon of Temperos. It's really fun, although we didn't get a chance to take him down once. We got to the second phase and then he just decimated us. So there's some fine-tuning that needs to happen still. There's a few mechanics that aren't even implemented yet, but it was actually really, really cool. That it feels interactive, which obviously, that was the aim, so I'd hope that it did, but it actually felt really fun to do it. So I'm looking forward to seeing that develop a little bit more, but good progress so far. It looks awesome.
Awesome. In that case, Kieren, thank you very much for the announcements. We'll have you on retainer for joining us every week with those. Let's move on to introductions. We've been away for a while, so we'll start there. I will work, let's go clockwise around. So I'll begin with Ash, then Kieren, then Ayiza, then lastly me. How is everybody? How are you, Mod Ash?
I am well, thank you, despite how many people in the country apparently are not. I'm thankfully still fine myself, and loving yet another lockdown, but at least, well, I've got work here and food. Could be a heck of a lot worse. Next.
Kieren, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice to have a bit of a break. Back at it, feeling refreshed. I mean, as Ash says, right? It's not exactly great times being back in lockdown, complete lockdown. But hey, I think we're all we're all downhill from here, right? Like vaccines are starting to come out, so feeling good on that front.
I think you mean
Yeah,
uphill, right?
glad to be back. Sorry.
You mean uphill from here on out? No, wait, downhill, uphill, upwards. Oh my god! I want to go uphill.
If you were to say it's all downhill from here, it's foreboding something bad's going to happen. But that said,
Is it?
I would much rather walk downhill than walk
easier,
uphill.
right?
That's
Yeah.
what's throwing me off now. I'm like, hold on a second.
I'd rather walk
Right,
downhill.
right.
than uphill.
Downhill's the right way to describe it, right?
But it's normally a bad phrase, though, right? It's downhill from here on out.
Am I wrong? What?
We
Uphill
say
from here suggests it's getting
downhill.
harder.
Okay, it can be downhill where the place you want to be is the bottom of it, so I can bounce down.
Also,
Oh,
it's if coronavirus cases are up here, you want them to go down. I don't know what. Anyway, it's just not what we came with the Q&A to discuss. Is it uphill or downhill? Whatever. It's all getting better from here. It's what I'm trying to suggest. Like, this is the worst it really's going to get, I think.
That's better. Excellent. All right, Ayiza, moving on. How are you?
Aside from the fact my brain does not function at the moment, yeah, I'm okay. Likewise, can't really complain about too much. I'm healthy. My family's safe and healthy too, and I still have a job, so that's good. Yeah. Weirdly, I don't feel refreshed after my break though. I've really struggled this week with kind of like getting back into the swing of things. It was harder than it was before I actually went away. So yeah, weird one. I'm not sure how many people are similar. Maybe there's people in the chat that are the same, but yeah, this week's just been a real struggle.
I'd agree with that. It's been tough to reacclimatize.
It was also a very big launch to coordinate, because not just a minigame and a holiday event, which wasn't a very small holiday event, but from a tech point of view, we'd also got the removal of the Christmas holiday event and all the league rewards to coordinate from that department, and also the shutting down of the league itself. That's a lot of stuff going on in one update. We couldn't have done this when the team was smaller a few years ago. And while, why don't we just postpone Soul Wars to another update so that we can focus on the league and the anniversary, or vice versa? Frankly, I like that we can deliver these things without having to, make the anniversary get celebrated weeks after it actually took place. And kicking off the year with a big update has been a RuneScape tradition going back many years, all the way to, basically Barber Soul and First Resort and things like that. And for Old School, we've done the same with the big Slayer expansions in 2014, Zora in 2015, Kieren in 2016, James and Zarek 2017, Dragon Slayer 2 in 2018, Kebos 2019. We like getting a year off to a big start where we can.
Right, so that's the new content we've released, and we've got lots of questions about the game update yesterday. But let's kick off by talking about the content we removed. So Leagues 2, if you weren't already aware, Leagues 2 Trailblazer is over. It came to an end yesterday morning around 10 a.m. And we had a little send-off for it. Mod Spear, and I think you coined him Mini Spear. Do you want to show us some of the assets we've got to show? Mod Ayiza, you were present, weren't you? Would you want to talk us through the community engagement we did yesterday?
Yeah, sure. So for some mad idea, I thought it would be sensible to try and organise a line from Lumbridge to Varrock with multiple players, and let's just say it was a little bit harder than we thought it might be. But in the end, we did eventually get there. So we basically told everyone to come to World 565 at the time and form one person on each tile all the way through. I think we managed to get all the way from Lumbridge through to the Blue Moon Inn in Varrock. And it was a chance for everyone to showcase the best gear that they had, all of their achievements, like any pets and stuff, as you can see here. We went around and picked out a few different players that we thought looked really cool that we'll be looking to send some membership their way. And we also had some pretty interesting things in there. Oh, there's some interesting messages. The first one I saw there was balls, so that's great. Something on my mind, clearly. But yeah, then there was some things like you saw on the bridge here. We've got Rock Gang. There was also a group of players that were like doing a ring of roses around some trees that just kept getting faster and faster. I've never really seen anything like that before. And then suddenly the whole line just started flapping using the flap emote. But yeah, overall, just a really nice little fun thing to do with the big line. And then we all congregated outside Lumbridge Castle for, the one last farewell. Oh, there it is. The little running around the trees. It was pretty fun to watch. Yeah, the aim was really just have a little bit of fun and just see how many people we could get together. And it was actually kind of hilarious trying to organize everyone to kind of like form in on the actual line itself. But yeah, thank you to everyone that did turn out. It was really just wholesome. So many people were just sending really good, like nice messages about their time they had on the league and thanking us, and it was so wholesome to see. I think there was also a few other worlds that were being used for like huge drop parties, like the Grand Exchange and stuff. I'm sure you've seen some of the images that were out there on Reddit. But yeah, I was running around as Konar actually, up and down the lines, and Verzik a little bit too. That's interesting seeing Verzik floating through Lumbridge.
Sweet. I've seen some people in the chat complaining that it's very early UK time, which meant that those players in places like the States, for example, couldn't attend. Perhaps next time with League 3, we could have a little send-off party the evening before we close the game worlds. But closing the game world so early in the day is beneficial for us because we work UK hours, and it means we're on hand to deal with any fallout of anything untoward occurring. Right. So lastly, a big thank you to everybody who played in Trailblazer. It's phenomenal success. I think everybody could agree on that. There are a few questions a bit later on talking about how it might influence the amount of time we spend working on leagues or design decisions. We'll get to those later. And lastly, we'll be hosting a very special Trailblazer data live stream later this month to share some insights and highlight some key accomplishments for players. We'll communicate more when we know more around specific dates. I think our analytics team are diving into all that cool data, and our creative team will be putting together some really funky looking slides.
Well,
cool, I've got some.
Did you get to?
Oh, dude, I logged on twice, so I haven't claimed the trophy.
Really, that's a fucking flex that I got a dragon trophy. So.
Oh my god! I ended up stopping like 17,000 points. I think I was just not using it as a way to compete. Though I think I said early on in one of the first streams I came in, it was Trailblazer for me was more about doing the content that I wouldn't normally do in main game and using it as a way to like practice. And it worked really well now because I've been getting pretty damn consistent with the Corrupted Gauntlet on my main. And my prayer switches are a lot more like on point, so it worked out really well for me.
Sorry.
How many points did you get?
Well, I'm on my main. I was at the time the league launched, I was training agility. I logged into leagues and then I found myself training agility. I was like, but this is the way I was looking at it. This is temporary progress. I've got limited time to play. I'd much rather have the permanent agility XP on my main account rather than on the league. So I prioritized my main over my league account this time around. So Kieren, did you have the most points from our team?
Husky beat me by about 1,000, I think. So
okay,
I think I was second in the team, and I think Mod Arcane was 100 points short of Dragon. So I'm not sure if he got it or not. I know he was really close.
Yeah, for like almost the entirety of the league was out. He was way ahead in terms of points to begin with. Unlucky. Still not as bad as missing out by like 10 points like those 4 people did. Unlucky.
Right, okay, we've also got some UGC, some very pretty pictures that the community have worked on. We'll race through those before we get to the questions. I see lots of people in the chat talking about Soul Wars fixes their desire. We've got news to share there. So Mod Spear and Mini Spear, if you could show the UGC in order on the script, please, that'd be awesome. So what we've got first, we've got Craft 478 made an awesome trophy with a little friend there in the background to commemorate their first ever 99, even if it wasn't leagues. Congratulations there. Does it come with a cat? I'd order one.
Really cute cat.
rather bewildered though. Well, next up from the very talented 7th Sleeper. It looks like the Tree Gnome Village army is getting some much needed upgrades, says Modasani. Another little collab, Pokemon and Old School crossover. Killerfishy24. Love their art style. So hardcore and like a comic manga feel there. So this is player versus Tecton.
I think there's actually a finished version of this that Killerfish uploaded on their Twitter account today. It's like all coloured in. It looks absolutely incredible. Not that this one doesn't.
I love the stuff we got.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The stuff we got Killerfishy to do for the Asmon stream, the all cast people, that would look so cool.
Mm.
I'd love to get one done for the Old School team.
RuneScape manga when?
This is by free-to-play Elo, and it's titled "My Favorite NPC." That's just because of the rune crafting XP, right?
It also is just such a nice moment, though, isn't it? When the genie just appears behind you. Like, even though the exam random gives you more XP, I want the genie because I don't want to do the exam random.
And the last one we've got is by Pluck B, titled "I'm done paying for the 10 GP entry fee."
I love it. It just seems so random. Oh my god, it's a video. I didn't even know.
There we go. Okay, now the title makes much more sense in that context.
That's like the most unexpected thing ever. At first I thought it was just artwork of the Alkarid cards. I hadn't seen it.
No, I hadn't seen that either. That's awesome. Okay, so there's actually one more thing to show before we get on to the Q&A. Before Christmas, we showed off some concept art for the upcoming Splitbark armor variants. We listened to your feedback, and we want to show you a second revised version of what it would look like. So Mod Spear and Mini Spear, if you could show the side-by-side comparison.
Awesome. So in this one, the left-hand side image is what we showed before Christmas, and the right-hand side is the revised version that is more in line with the feedback that we received, making it look a little bit more, bark-like, I guess. So there is a straw poll that we're going to send through in the chat momentarily, which will let you vote. I think option 1 is for the left side, and option 2 will be for the right side. So when that gets into the chat. Sorry, I'm just like stealing this from you now, Sween, I realised, but hope you don't mind. Too late anyway.
Take a rest, please.
But yeah, some both incredible designs. I don't even know what to say because I love them both really. So I guess that's why we ask you guys. There is a link that's
a lot of the feedback we got was I think Modsani's sharing that now for us. A lot of feedback we got was, I like it, it looks awesome, but it doesn't look like Splitbark. And some players felt that was a good thing, because Splitbark perhaps doesn't quite look as imposing as a magical armor set ought to. But we've gone away and we've made it more bark-like. Okay, straw poll's out.
I don't know which one's going to win. I wouldn't be able to guess which one's players to go vote for here.
I'm going to vote right now.
Fresh votes. There's only 400 of you that have voted so far. Keep those votes coming.
We'll share it on social after the stream anyway. Just to get more player feedback, garner more opinion. Really close though. Okay, let's move on to the questions whilst the votes come in. First question is from Nutty1122, and the question is, could something be done about the Soul Wars imbalance? Forcing everyone in the Guthix portal would be a big help. So by balance, they mean team balance. One team might be a bit more stacked than the other team, making the game not quite so competitive. Now this seems like a good time to segue onto some plan changes we'd like to make to Soul Wars. Should I just go. Shall I list all the points we'd like to propose with the news post coming later today? Would the rest of you be happy with that?
Sure.
Please.
I see some nodding. Excellent. Cool. Right. So shortly after the stream, we'll be publishing a news post. We've got changes listed in 3 sections, some of which we'll be making this very evening. So hotfix is coming. Some of which we'll be making next week with the game reboot. And then other changes we just like your feedback on. Hypothetical changes we could proceed with, we could adapt, or we might not proceed with based on your feedback. So today we'll be hotfixing the activity bar's depletion. Currently it takes about 2 minutes to deplete. We're going to slow this to 2 minutes and 30 seconds because some of you felt that it does deplete too quickly. Ultimate IMN found themselves unable to play because of inventory management issues. So we're going to allow them to use looting bags in Salt Wars. We're going to change the Spoils of War loot table slightly, reducing quantities of runite ore and seeds and making dragon items, rune items, seeds and runite ore rarer. We've noticed that some of you are taking in items like the Ring of Stone, and the transmog ability can be quite annoying to other players in the minigame, so we're going to stop you from using it, and other similar items in the minigame. Lastly, for the hotfixes today, a lot of you were leaving the waiting area unintentionally, clicking the door, trying to get in and find yourself leaving. So to help you with that, we'll be adding a confirmation check when you request to leave. So changes we'll be planning to make next week with the game reboot and the next week update. Players with a bearded player character, you might have noticed that your majestic facial hair sadly vanishes during the tutorial for Soul Wars. We're going to fix that. We're going to add examine options to items in the other tab in the reward shop. We'll be adding a counter to let you track how many Spoils of War you've opened. We'll be adding a short 3-second period of immunity for players leaving the graveyard to bolster the chance of escape. No damage can be dealt to a player during this immunity period. So, you might have seen that picture on Reddit yesterday of the one player stuck in the graveyard surrounded by 60 other players. Well, from next week onward, they'll have 3 seconds to run away. What else? Okay, some of you have noticed that attacking the avatar from distance has resulted in your character standing still and a message appearing telling you to move closer. Not very helpful. So we're going to try and automatically move you closer to attack the avatar. Lastly, from the changes to be made next week, the activity bar at the moment begins to deplete as soon as the game begins. So we're going to change that so it takes 10 seconds before it depletes. Let you find your feet. And then on to 3 things we'd like your feedback on. We've noticed that some of the games are becoming imbalanced, like you're telling us in the chat. So we'd like to propose a rework to the grouping mechanic. Currently you can choose which team you'd like to join. We're proposing that all players join one single waiting area, and then they will be randomly assigned a team before the game starts. So that's what we're proposing. The next thing we'd like your feedback on is, so the delay between using multiple bandages can make them quite tricky to use the healing item. It's you don't really find yourself able to out-heal any incoming damage. So we want to give you the opportunity to stay alive a little bit longer by removing the delay. And then lastly, what we'd like your feedback on is rewards. We want to really hear your ideas for new rewards from the minigame. Let us know anything you'd like to see. No real guidance on that. Any kind of cool rewards you'd like to see in the minigame, let us know. And this news post will publish.
I was just going to say, to touch on the reward side of things, there was some conversation internally about, some potential things that could be added in there, like maybe some cosmetics for different equipment throughout the game, but also then maybe looking at taking some of the rewards that are available in LMS and also adding them in addition to Soul Wars, so they'll still be available in LMS, but some of like the blighted rewards and such, those are like potentials. But other than that, any kind of ideas that you guys might have, very much welcomed. But I'd like to know what you think about some of the LMS stuff also being added to Soul Wars in addition.
Excellent.
I think
we'll
the reaction. Sorry, Sween.
Go on, Kieren. There you go, mate.
I saw some questions coming up in the chat just now, straight away from the talking about the randomized portal, and there's a lot of people saying yes, this is a great thing, and because it's ultimately, of course, it's solving the current problem of people stacking one side, but people are talking about wanting to play with their friends and whatnot, and we discussed this morning as well. Like, it is a part of it, so I don't really have an answer on it yet, to be honest.
One thing that's had a little support online has been keeping the blue and red portals the blue and red routes as they are. But on some worlds, you are only able to go through the green. That would mean that if you care more about being in a group with your mates, you can use the worlds where you can choose your side, with the existing restrictions maybe on how the teams, or what the teams will allow. But on other worlds where perhaps more people will go, only the green portal is there. Yeah. I've seen a few people discussing it, and it seems, well, one, very easy to implement, and secondly, if it don't work out, we can undo it again without having to take weeks about it. So maybe if we would like to, keep letting clans and groups play as those groups, we can go with this sort of halfway measure so that both are catered to.
I think that could work really well. What we don't want to also enable is like people boosting with like alts and things like that as well. So it's like there's that we want to be cautious of. So maybe I think that's a good thing to try and see how it goes, right?
That sounds good. What we can do is we could probably revise the blog to offer that proposal before we publish, which we'll hope to get out later this evening once the stream is over. Okay, next question. Similarly to Soul Wars, Mod Ayiza, I'm coming to you to answer this one. I'm Life asks, for Soul Wars, could restricted items be held for Ultimate Iron Man while they're playing the minigame? Perhaps similarly to the Gauntlet, this will allow them to participate more proactively.
Yeah, so I originally, the reason why I took this one was because I was thinking, hey, this is easy enough because the looting bag is going to be allowed in there, so it will solve all the problems. But then I was thinking about it whilst I was here listening, and there are obviously still some other items that might not be in the looting bags that are non-combat that they would have in their inventories. So yeah, I guess it's something that I need to think about a little bit more now. So I'd like to defer to a developer. I think if it's possible, I guess obviously with the addition of the looting bag, maybe it won't be as much of a problem if you can put all of your non-combat stuff within there. But yeah, I don't know how possible it would be to make it so that specific items such as potions or supplies, for example, would be able to remain in the general invent and still be allowed to go into Soul Wars for a UIM.
Kieren, you attended more of the meetings than I was able to, but my understanding was that they were aware of the suggestions of doing stuff with messing with your loadout and all that, and had to decline them for now because that was rather a large thing to bolt into the minigame as it stands. So if it were done, it wouldn't be done anytime soon. Might be thinking of something else, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
And that's certainly part of it. It's quite a big addition. Secondly, it's also a little different to how it is in the other places, in that we want to leave you with most of your gear, like your combat equipment you want to keep in your inventory. And so we would maybe just have to make it a blanket rule, like if it's an item that's allowed in Soul Wars, it stays in your inventory. If it's not an item that's allowed in Soul Wars, it goes into the storage temporarily as you go into the game, which even that doesn't quite necessarily cover all the use cases, because an Ultimate Iron Man could well have a bunch of other combat items that are valid for Soul Wars that you don't want in your inventory in the game. So it starts to complicate the design solution, and you need to start thinking about how else you could handle it. I think it gets to end up being quite a big piece of work to support it.
Maybe it's one to just monitor them. We'll just see how much of a problem it is now after the looting bag implementation is updated this evening. Imagine it will solve most of it because a lot of it gets kept in there anyway, and they can kind of like juggle things around, hopefully.
For me, okay, we'll move on to the next question. Stone J asked a question about the 20th anniversary event. For the anniversary event, does the older model of the KBD or any of the other monsters have a drop table?
The KBD does have a random roll when it dies, and while it will not give you the items, it will roll the chance from the real KBDs table of the chance of a pet, the chance of certain uniques, etc., a visage, and tell you if you'd been fighting the real one, you could have got one of these. Hey, like if you'd been fighting the real KBD, you could have been followed.
Imagine an evil man.
Mod Rock came up with that idea in the playtest feedback, and naturally I jumped on it and programmed it.
That's cruel.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad people have been trying it out anyway. I've had a few complaints about how you don't get dragon bones like you did back when they remember it. True that. For what it's worth, I think in Classic, Dragon Bones gave 60 XP rather than 72, but I digress.
I do love seeing the old models, though. They are amazing.
And recreation to get some of that back, because even if the models were as they were, the code is not. And making the KBD do its thing was about as much work as all the other monsters in there altogether. Worth it, though, it felt.
I've really enjoyed seeing the classic NPCs making a reappearance. I saw somebody on one of the, I think I was on Reddit, had like a side-by-side comparison of various different NPCs like imps and stuff through the ages. It's great to see how the game looked back when a lot of people remembered it. I mean, personally, I started playing in 2004, so I missed the classic NPCs and all those models, but I did dip into classic quite a few times.
Demons in Classic look pretty scary, I thought, with the very stylized graphics they were using then. Moving to RS2, where we've got the things you can now see in the realm of memories, the very dog-faced demons. Hey, what a long face. They were never quite as frightening to me as the classic ones were when I first saw.
They're not scary whatsoever. Yeah. It's like it's Play-Doh or something.
Of course, it's quite possible we still employ the artists who made them, and they were certainly a leap forward from what we had before in terms of when it was all 2D sprites. But I like the reworks they did in like 2006-ish. The Demon Improvement Project, Dragon Improvement Project. Even if there's something very sweet about the very curvaceous dragons that, as we see them in the realm of memories.
I do love the models we have in Old School, like today, for demons and dragons, yeah.
I regret that we didn't get to have a bit more in the realm of memories, but there's only so much dev time we're going to put on a temporary event that's going to be taken out again at the end. And I'd have liked to get the hill giants and ogres in there. Hill giants in particular were very weird, with really nice light blue boxer shorts, all of them, all in matching shorts. I don't know what was with that. I suppose it seemed like a good idea to the time.
Didn't it look like the Black Knight Titan? Sort of.
That was Fire Giant. Seems like one of those painted black. And except at one point, the recolouring didn't quite cover the model's lips, so he got the Fire Giant colour for his lips, and the rest of him was dark grey. And just these cherry lips looked very weird. I think we should have kept that.
Okay.
I see the
So
picture in the chat.
Oh, here we go. This is okay. Yeah, Modsani's sharing the graphical timeline I saw, showing the timeline between giants, demons, and dragons through the ages. And you're quite right. Very curvaceous.
I love how the giant and hill giant's just a man with a beard.
Well, yeah, they could do recolouring, and they could also do vertical stretching. So in Classic, a giant was, I think, Johnny the Beard from Blue Moon Inn, stretched. So, big Johnny the Beard.
The Moss Giant's the best one. The 2004 Moss Giant is absolutely hilarious.
He looks happy.
Really content. Yeah, I do like the root emerging from his head.
And I like the mohawk on the ice giant.
Should we ever make an ice giant boss? Perhaps we should take inspo from that. Just make it a super badass punk ice giant. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Mac RS asked us, okay, could we get a snapshot of the weekly progress of our accounts? XP-wise, quests, bosses, kills, etc. It'd be fun to see accounts progress that way. Infographic-ish. Power BI would be easy to use for that purpose. Have a good day. Interesting thought. I know our email team do send out like a monthly update, which is say this is how many quest points, XP and stuff you've gained. I'm not too sure what types of information they've got readily to hand. And it's all well and good, I think, highlighting some third-party tools which offer these kind of solutions, but not many of those third-party tools play very well with our systems. Largely because, we just turned 20.
I know our data team have been like modernizing a lot of their systems over the last couple of years now to be on much more modern infrastructure, which is amazing. For our case, even to look at data. But honestly, I love this kind of project because I think it's, as a player, it's so rewarding to look back at like longer trends of your account progression. So I would love to do something like this in the future, and if we could find a way to do it, I think it's sick.
Oh, for sure. And lots of people have said, I've seen in the chat, they're quite wary of opening those types of emails from the email team because of things like email phishing, which is very responsible. So if we can offer a kind of in-game based or web-based solution, that'd be great too. Okay, next question is also Soul Wars related. Kelly asks, can Soul Wars have a hard cap on combat styles? For example, 7 meleeers or 5 rangers to 3 mages to limit max mages spawn camping and creating bottlenecks? And or could ancients be limited to ice splits? So it seems like what the person is getting at is, I don't like that me and my team are being ice barraged too much. Can you change that, please?
Well, we discussed this a lot today as well, didn't we, Ayiza, this morning, in terms of, obviously, right now, the team stacking thing. And I think it's very related to that. If one team's really stacked strong, you're going to have a lot more people that you can't really take down who are using ice barrage all the time on the bridges, particularly, as choke points. So we're keen to obviously explore the whole Guthix portal only thing and see how the game starts to play. And the reason I say that is because I think we need time for people to play the game in that manner with more balanced teams and see how it starts to play. I don't really know what the best form of Soul Wars is, like in terms of what's the most fun, what's the most fair. Is it 15 versus 15 or full games of 60 versus 60? What is the right team size? Because honestly, I don't really know yet. And so I'm really curious to see what players think when they start playing more. And longer term, I'm particularly interested, and I want to create I'd love to have a competitive version, like a toggle on certain worlds that you can play fixed team size and play. We make like 10 versus 10 Soul Wars or something. And I think 10 versus 10 is the minimum currently. And maybe with that, there are some tweaks to the mode where you have to pick from, say, 3 loadouts or something like that. And teams could then build up whatever quantity of each loadout they want, for instance. That's the sort of idea I've got going in my head. I don't know exactly how it would potentially look if we were to explore something like that. But I think to start answering this sort of question, should we limit people from having too many mages on the side? We need the game to exist a bit longer while players figure out the best metas, the best strategies, and things like that.
For what it's worth, barraging ain't cheap, and it could be that what people are willing to spend the money on doing lots around launch day may not be what they're so willing to spend the money on, a couple of weeks down the line. So that may also evolve a little.
The 3-second immunity we're considering adding, we'll be adding next week actually. That'll probably also help. Assuming we say they can't take damage during that 3 seconds. I imagine we're also saying they can't be frozen during that 3 seconds of leaving the graveyard too.
So you just be immune.
So I expect that to probably help.
Absolutely. I do agree though. I think it's been out for a day. There's obviously so many people in there, a lot of max players in there. Everyone's just, with the hype in it, and I think in a few weeks' time it will have settled down a lot more, and with the potential balancing as well, I think, as Kieren said, we're probably in a very different position, and it'll be different kind of questions in 2 weeks' time's Q&A.
Okay, sweet. We'll move on. Matrona Makes asked a question about the Gnome Child. Can we get the Gnome Child as a pet in the future? An extremely rare one. I'm talking 3rd age drop rates and only from killing gnomes.
It's going to look awful in the Gnome Stronghold with everyone farming that thing, which is quite tempting, actually. That said, while I find Gnome Child a nice bit of fun to dig out for holiday events, I don't necessarily want to do it all the time. Especially this green one.
God, I think of all the poor gnomes who would have to die if there was just every world at Gnome Stronghold, people with cannons up, just killing all the gnomes.
Population, yeah.
And it would be like, if it's 3rd age, you'd probably talk like 1 in 100,000 drop rate with this pet. So, yeah.
We could at least make the fighters on the Khazar battlefield occasionally, the human ones occasionally shout, "I got the pet!" Just for fun.
I was just Googling the Khazar Gnome War to see whether that might be the case. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Lord555 has asked, have iron people been taken into account in Soul Wars? When killing anything, it seems like you don't get a loot drop, bones or soul fragments, or any zeal if somebody else tags the player or ghost you attack. I feel like the iron restriction should be lifted for Soul Wars in this respect, because it's extremely difficult to get solo kills of so many players.
I think if that's the case, yes, we should change it.
Sounds fair.
Cool. Excellent. Making note of that then. Well pointed out. Okay, next question is from Sven4950. Could we get a task-only Rune Dragon runes?
I think that's already on the list of future polls. At least I've put it there before. I assume it's still there.
Awesome. We're working on poll 74, so perhaps it could make an appearance there or in future. Okay, the next question is from Cameron's Pool. Can we get a mini quest of either throwing Bob from the axe shop in jail for being a ham enthusiast, or a mini quest where we show him that not all species beside human are bad? Between how he treated Zanuck and the green gnome from the anniversary event, I am appalled.
Well, going all the way back to when Death to the Auction came out, Mod John A, writing that quest, put an actual comment in the code next to Bob's dialogue saying, "Bob is a crazy racist." And for the anniversary event, I have aimed to remain true to this established canon that Bob is a crazy racist, and I think it came across just fine. Whatever we do with that particular Bob, as opposed to any other Bob in the game, we'd have to make sure you can still get his services in Lumbridge. Some kind of apprentice. Not Bob anymore, but Nob takes over the shop. Yes, it would be nice to explore more with that, or indeed try to educate him out of it, maybe while he's in jail, or send him on a mission to that actually opens his mind to meeting more cultures. It's quite tempting. Can't say we'd be jumping on it anytime soon, though. There's a lot on the you've seen roadmaps. This isn't likely to fit onto it quickly. But I do like the idea, so that maybe Bob doesn't have to be a crazy racist forever.
His redemption.
Yeah, the redemption arc. I had no idea. Probably should have figured actually with the quests. That's what I get for spacing through content, I guess.
Well, yeah, if you
a lot of them was pretty scared when Zanuck came out.
John A went to a lot of trouble to give all the different characters different approaches to Zanuck. For some of them, it would be based on well, in jokes about what they do the rest of the time. For example, the Lumbridge cook. You talk to him with Zanuck, and he would like Zanuck to go and fetch him some ingredients to make a cake, because it's what he does. But in the case of Bob, you say, "Get out! I'm not serving you that thing here." And the player can either say, "Okay, let's leave," or "Oh, she's not with me," at which point Bob will serve them. And Zanuck doesn't like it.
I think that's something really easily overlooked. It's amazing to see that level of detail sometimes.
He's a novelist now. He's quite big on this kind of story writing, character stuff.
Okay, I have a question you've covered before, but let's answer it anyway to give further clarity. Bablaka asked, will the Realm of Memories from the birthday event be removed when the event is removed?
I'd expected so. While we can keep it, it's not like the Goblin Sledding, which is really quite fun gameplay. This, after you've seen it for the first 3 weeks, I think there's not much more to see in there. And realistically, we're not going to be spending the dev time putting more and more in it for the fun, because there may be more valuable things we could be doing with the dev time for you all. Sorry, I'm glad you've liked it. For what it's worth, it's one of the first bits of content I've got that's got a little reference to, that's got a little signature of my own in there. There's a little pile of ash in the corner, next to one of the braziers. My autograph. And next to it is a cabbage for Andrew, because he was our creator.
It's really sweet.
Nice.
Would you, just out of interest, Ash, would you be opposed to actually keeping it in, even if we never changed it? Similar to how, you know, underneath the Falador party room, we have the kind of like hall area, that showcase of all our content. Yeah, the museum.
I'm willing. I just didn't think it was worth it. But it's not extra work to leave in. Hopefully, of course, it won't require extra handling in future, because if it starts becoming a maintenance problem that creates more work in future projects, like we became aware when we launched it that it didn't, League's code didn't know about their own memories, because I'd never expected that it would be present in a build of the game that also had League's code running, because I knew the League was due to shut. But it turns out that the cane does an emote based on where you are, and the cane didn't know where you were if you were in the realm of memories, because it was never defined as a League district. So it's already given us a little more trouble than I was expecting in that regard. Hopefully that kind of thing won't keep coming up, because yeah, we can deal with them, but if it becomes a faff, maybe we should just let it go, or let it come back periodically as a treat, rather than keeping it as an all-round thing.
Sure. No, that's fair.
Very, very, very touching.
It's a lovely area, so I'm a big fan of it. I like the NPCs in there. It's just cool to just go into and see every now and then.
And also seeing people suddenly realising what the archways around the sides are references to is quite amusing. Mod West made it, I think.
Excellent. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Did anyone notice, what is the drop rate of the new Soul Wars pet? Is that something we either know or also want to reveal? Any ideas?
You know what it is, because we spoke about it today. It's like 50-50, you know, you either get it or you don't.
Classic.
No, I do actually know what it is, but I don't want to say it, because I think that's normally down to, you know, the devs that worked on that project, so I wouldn't want to leak it without their permission, really. And it's been out for a day. I mean, I don't know. I guess it is interesting because it gives you like some kind of idea in terms of how long you would anticipate to get, you know, it would take to get that pet. People can use that for planning purposes, but yeah, unless Kieren, you have any other, or Ash, but I think I'd rather let the
We only keep it a mystery for a little while and let the devs do it.
And I genuinely never looked it up. Can't leak what I don't know. Unless it really is, in which case we have leaked it.
it's not
a lot of people are getting unlucky. Okay,
we'll save that for a future stream, perhaps. Next question from Suma. Can we get a clearer distinction of monsters that are able to be killed for the bonus XP with a new Ectoplasmator from Soul Wars? Imagine we can put one together, perhaps with next week's Game Update news post.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get that. We could probably give it to the wiki guys as well. Get it on the wiki so it's accurate there. But if it needs more distinction in game to explain the function of the weapon, we should put it there as well. Of the weapon of the Ectoplasmator.
Did we put it on Monster Examine?
I don't know.
If we didn't, it feels like a nice touch to make that spell mention it along with all the other info it gives. Reason being that, well, we're going to add more creatures in future, and letting players find this stuff out as they go will be reasonable, even if we, of course, share a list up front as you described, so that they don't have to trawl the entire game looking for it now. Off the top of my head, I seem to recall that it covers spiritual warriors and things like that in the God Wars dungeon, and Barrow's brothers, and aberrant spectres, obviously, and revenants, obviously. So that's a start of some things you might find it useful on.
Yeah, I think in the blog it specifically said ghostly creatures. I remember I saw there was a comment on Twitter, actually. Someone mentioned that it doesn't work against banshees, but I think that's because banshees are considered undead, even though they look like ghostly figures. They're classified as undead creatures rather than ghosts, so that might have caused some confusion there. Unless they were wrong, I didn't verify it. That's what I read.
I didn't look in that much detail. I just memorised some that seemed particularly salient because I figured people would kill them a lot. Didn't think to look for banshees. Frankly, I'm not that familiar with the traditional definition of a banshee, other than it's a ghost that sits on your roof and screams when somebody's dying, right?
Sounds about right. Let me have a look at banshees now. Yeah, they class as undead. So I think that might. I was just I couldn't remember if that was exactly what it was, but I think it was.
But they don't work with Crumble Undead in our game, do they?
Salve works on them, so.
Okay. Never tried it with them. Probably won't anyway.
The player was asking for a clearer distinction. I think we've made it a little bit messier, but we will endeavour to try and give a clearer distinction of the monsters that are able to be killed for bonus XP.
Sorry about that.
Right, we're running short on time. First, I'm going to apologise to Mod Spear and Mini Spear because they've done great work in prepping the questions to appear on stream. I'm going to deviate from that order and ask some chat questions right now. Let's try and race through these if we can. Mr. Bionic Cow asks, when is the Shades of Mort'ton minigame update arriving?
Do you know, Ash, exactly when it's expected?
I'm sorry, I don't remember. I mean, we're talking a few weeks rather than a few months, though, right?
I know.
Yeah,
the date. I know the date that it's scheduled for at the moment. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it.
Do it with all the usual caveats.
So I think at the moment, I think it's looking to be around the 27th of January. But obviously we've got this Splitbark armour kind of predicament, so to speak, with deciding exactly which version to go into the game. And that obviously comes from the Shades of Mort'ton minigame rework. So until we get that finalised, it could change. But yeah, at the moment it's been scheduled for around the 27th, so the end of this month.
Cool. And obviously earlier in the stream, we showed off the potential how the Splitbark armor variants, which will come from the Shades of Mort'ton minigame update, how they'll appear. Okay, next question is from Muffix or Mufix. Are there plans in the far future to add more minigames like Stealing Creation? Obviously being asked because yesterday we released Soul Wars.
This is the other big one that's asked for, right? Like, you know, for years we've seen Soul Wars and Stealing Creation be asked for again and again and again. Well, we were able to port a lot of Soul Wars over and indeed we can make a start point at least with porting over stealing creation. I believe Mod Melee has already actually started experimenting with stealing creation, though I'd love to do it one day. Soul Wars is definitely a great test bed for launching that and seeing how Soul Wars goes, and I'm well up for it. I think stealing creation would require more tweaks to the game itself to fit old school, though, with the summoning aspects and whatnot.
For what it's worth, Mod Melee was one of the co-writers of Stealing Creation in the first place, so getting her is actually a rather nice bonus there. We would still nevertheless like to develop new ideas, like, there was that rune crafting design that we showed in a Gazette. It's not all about, nabbing stuff from the other RuneScape, because frankly, even nabbing stuff from the other RuneScape still takes blinking months, as Soul Wars demonstrated.
Yeah, stealing creation completely needs new rewards as well, because I don't think the double XP hammers and tools and whatnot will work for old school.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question, unless anybody has anything more to add.
was just
Itchway
gonna-
asks, who...
No, I
Go
was
on.
just going to say, people want stealing creation without those rewards, though. The tools. Isn't that like the main purpose of it? Or was it just that it was a fun minigame? I never did it myself, but I know that it was
I think it's
typically quite favoured because of those tools.
I've seen many players saying that they would like Stealing Creation just for the gameplay. They don't want those tools, or they don't care about those tools. Some explicitly don't want those tools. So I think there's a real market out there for it with something different. I wouldn't want to release it with no rewards, but hopefully we could do something different.
Okay.
I'll be perfectly honest, I played purely for the rewards and participated in the matches which implemented ties. So the clan chats would run the world and you'd all draw every game to maximise as many points as you can get as possible.
And you know what? Of course, the same with lots of content, right? There's certainly a lot of people play the stuff for the rewards. I mean, even if Soul Wars had no rewards at all, I'd expect it would get less players. If General Grado or didn't drop any Bandos loot, I'm sure less people would kill General Grado, even if they love playing that boss fight, And that's always going to have that problem. So content does need rewards. It's the incentive so that you don't feel like you're wasting your time while you're doing it as well. But
trouble.
I've seen a few trouble brewing, certainly stuff is there. I've seen a few people just instantly responding to the tools of balance and whatnot. I think if you were to look at time, if you added up the time you've got to spend playing Stealing Creation to get the hammers and then go do smithing, for instance, I think time-wise it works out, but you do save money. You do save money on supplies. It also means less resources are going out the game, which would have been used otherwise. So there are aspects to that do need considering. At the end of the day, if players are well on board with the tools, I wouldn't have any reason to say we shouldn't do them. I just don't think it's in line with most of the reward mechanisms we've added to old school, or indeed the sort of rewards that the community's generally been in favour of.
For what it's worth, if we did get Stealing Creation in whatever form, our developers know not to allow theft of potatoes.
Oh yeah, that was where the rotten potato theft happened, wasn't it? Because you could pickpocket other players.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a rather unfortunate decision from a then inexperienced developer, that since only the permitted items could get into the area, there was no need to check what was being stolen. Not an assumption that old school devs are trained to make these days.
Okay, let's run through some more questions before we wrap up. We've just hit the hour mark. Itchway has asked, who added the Easter egg to the Fossil Island Squirrel when you use a Dark Acorn on Maz? I found it yesterday. Any ideas?
I would have guessed it would be on the grounds that he wrote the Hallowed Sepulchre and the Dark Acorn.
Yeah, it was
But-
Husky just said it.
There you go. Yeah. Husky's in the chat to answer.
That's handy. Okay, next question is from Donny Cha 7. Could lava dragons ever be considered either red or black dragons so they could be used for non-Krystilia Slayer tasks?
I mean, I guess they can, but doesn't mean necessarily they should.
That's the perfect answer for every single question we'll ever face with it on a Q&A.
I think that's
Good luck.
why Fraser usually wants it. But one of the tech answers there would be that Slayer creatures are currently able to be in 2 categories and able to be a boss task. Making them be in 3 categories for it to be a red or black dragon while still being a lava dragon might be more problematic. Of course, if players accept it saying it's a black dragon, not a red dragon, because the red is the lava, and that bit doesn't count.
It's a black dragon with lava on it.
Yeah. Then we could do that.
Mod Husky has said, if we introduce yellow dragons, should green count as blue and yellow? Fair point.
If
Okay.
you walk over a lava dragon, can you get a stone dragon?
Well, I wouldn't mind a stone dragon actually.
Anywho, let's move on. Bragalaga has asked, well, first of all says, welcome back to the office and Happy New Year. My question is, why do the Trailblazer outfits change our character's chat head?
I don't know.
Any ideas?
Magic.
Never answer.
Magic.
For what it's worth, the way heads are implemented in the game, a lot of them actually have to have the face built into the individual model, rather than being able to, inherit the bits of your face that wouldn't otherwise be covered by the hat graphics. So these things do actually end up being made custom repeatedly, and won't always come out as quite the same.
Okay. All right, let's take one more question, and then Kieren, I'm going to ask you to redo the announcements after that question. How do you feel about that?
Oh, go on then.
Okay, next question we've got is from Greenboy656. What are the wilderness changes that will be coming out in April? So this is in reference to the December Gazette, in which we showed like a snapshot of the first quarter of Old School's year.
Well, we are. I'll just be honest. There isn't a fully fledged out design as of yet. There are some ideas that have been thought about, but they're not in a position to really kind of like talk about. There'll be an opportunity in the coming, I guess the coming weeks now. I can't really say months because it is this year and it's coming up quite soon, to basically put forward suggestions in terms of changes. I've already had a little bit of conversation with some PvP folk about things that we could consider. I can quick fire those if you want. If you're going to give me like a minute to just quick fire through some of them top level, I won't go into detail. I'll just say some of the things that we spoke about that might be a potential. Those being... Go on, Ash. There we go. So, oh god, I've just closed all my tabs off now. I actually got me all flustered with that T sound. Whew. All right, so really quickly, we could be looking at clarifying areas and boundaries between singles, singles plus, and multi. Looking at the Rev and Slayer caves being buffed by adding more Revs, increasing the amount of items that drop from them, having faster respawns. There was a superior Revenant concept, which kind of had like a Revenant boss sort of that would spawn in a random area of the caves that gets announced that you'd have to go and kill to have better loot. Making it so that Revenants have unique mechanics and that they might be weaker against certain weapons. So, different Rev weapons being more effective against different Revs. Capping the amount of times that they can heal, changing some of their drops so that they're not noted anymore, so that people are more incentivized to use like the Amulet of Avarice. Looking at Wilderness Slayer to change the drop tables so that they're unique for the NPCs that are in there. adding superior monsters, looking at some task-only hotspot creatures, wilderness-only clue scrolls. Then we've got other things such as the wilderness bosses themselves being reworked, having fully fledged out mechanics for them being put into potentially new locations, and the rest then goes into stuff like LMS and equipment rebalancing and all that kind of stuff, so I won't go into that just yet. But yeah, lots of different things top level at the moment. There's obviously a lot of things that don't focus on the wilderness itself. That was mostly around Revenants, Slayer, and the bosses. But that was just kind of like things that we got very early on. So there will be opportunity for people to provide feedback on that and give their suggestions.
I'm quite keen for it to be quite a holistic view of what the wilderness is and how we offer that content, really address some of the big problems that we've seen over the time. I think, personally, and I'm very curious what people actually think of this, because I don't remember ever really having a chat about it internally either, but the idea of having like the confirm I want to skull thing, so this action will skull you as a warning, so that if you say up front, maybe this is obviously toggled on or off, I do not want to be skulled, then it will warn you before you do. What do people actually think about that? Because it does take skull tricking out of the game for people who do not want to be ever skulled.
I'm probably going to get a few PvPers that will hate me for saying this, but I don't think skull tricking is something that really should exist anymore anyway, honestly. It's a very personal take in there, but I just don't see anything that good that comes from it apart from for the PvPer that, gets to really kind of like slyly kill someone that wouldn't have normally killed them. Got their loot that they wouldn't normally have got under genuine circumstances. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit like hand-holdy in that aspect of preventing it from happening, but I think it's a little bit, it's fun, but at the same time it's a little bit of toxic fun, right? I don't see the benefit outweighing the negatives.
The other argument is that the wilderness is this wild west, anything goes down,
Yeah.
So I hear that. But I'm looking at this also like, God, we need new people coming into PvP. That's the real solution here, right? You want people to get into PvP, learn it, be willing to take part in it. So that, you don't have to do skull tricking as your mechanism to get somebody skulled to kill. Like, that's why I really want to try and look at those sort of things as well. Because I think we should also talk to people who don't PvP, and I want to know why. I want to know why you don't want to play it. What's putting you off even giving it a go as well? Because those things really could help make a difference.
The learning curve is extremely steep.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
and for what it's worth, at one point we hoped that Last Man Standing could act as a learning curve in a safe environment where, with small rewards to be won, but a lot less risk. It doesn't function that way because a lot of the people in there are not matched targets, and we have not been able to do a matching system that would make them be so far. Players have often suggested that we make one, and if we ever were to do one that isn't massively manipulable, I think we'd love to.
Just to clarify on two things, I saw a few things coming up in chat. When I mentioned about wilderness clue scrolls, there would be clue scrolls that are only available from within the wilderness. So like if you're a PVMer, for example, that doesn't want to feel like you're having to go in there to complete them, then your normal clues would just, like, you would only get these from killing wilderness slayer task creatures. And they would only have steps within the wilderness, and they wouldn't have access to the improved access to the loot that you would normally get from like your hard and elites, like the gilded, the bloodhound, and master, like the bloodhound and whatnot. That would just be very similar to like your normal hard clue scroll loot. So it wouldn't really make any difference. It's just an extra little reward. And about the skull tricking side of things, I guess the issue that I have with skull tricking is that I think skull tricking can be fun in certain instances, but when it's about the deception kind of thing with abusing things such as the 30-minute skull timer and getting someone to skull on you just as your skull like expires, and that whole that whole mechanic, I'm not a huge fan of, which I just don't see a great benefit, as well as the whole having two names that are very similar. You know, if someone's going to skull on you because they like misclicked on you, then cool, yeah, fair enough. The wilderness is punishing, so that should stay. I'm just not a huge fan of the deceptive skull tricking methods, personally. Those are the kind of things that
I agree with you there when it comes to the deception element. I think some PKers might lament the lack of players to kill in the wilderness, yet might be unable or unwilling to see that it's going to be hard to attract new players or other players, existing players, into the wilderness, when at the back of their mind they're thinking, "Oh, well, I might get tricked. I might die through no fault of my own, or through one simple misclick," rather than it being fair game.
The common counter argument is... Oh, sorry, Kieren. Do you mind if I just quickly get this one out? Thanks. The common counter argument is that you can just turn off left-click attack options. But what if someone actually genuinely wants to fight back and wants to start learning how to PK and feels like they have a genuine opportunity to have a fair fight, and they start attacking you? You know, they don't get scored because you attack them first, they're fighting back, and then that skull tricking incident causes them to get scored and lose the stuff that they wouldn't normally have lost. And then that's someone who's probably not going to want to go back in again. But they did intend to want to put up a fight. And those are the kind of situations that I'd rather look to avoid. And alternatively, if you definitely want to avoid being skull tricked entirely, then yeah, you can obviously turn off your left click attack options, but that doesn't do much for getting people more involved in wanting to fight back and learning and defending themselves. So
that's exactly what I was going to say. You want people to fight back. We want people to actually start playing PvP content. It shouldn't be just PvPers are going to kill whoever's trying to kill Callisto or whatever, you know? You want someone to be ready to think, no, I'm not just here to kill Callisto, I'm willing to fight back against somebody who tries to kill me as well. But so you've got obviously the skull tricking involved, there's single way clanning, right? And all that sort of stuff. That's a big discussion topic of whether you take that out or not. You know, do you fight back and just get lured into like a stack of 10 people who are going to take turns fighting you? There's so many things I think I want to have proper discussions on with the community and internally on what we want, to try and incentivize people to actually do PKing and not just think, I can't win because I'm going to run into a team, or I'm going to get skull tricked, so I'm going to go into the wilderness with like 4 valuable items and that's it, and just run away if I get attacked. That's not healthy for PvP.
Cool. Right, we are overrunning. Me and Ayiza got a call shortly. This is a really interesting topic. I think lots of opinions, fierce on both sides. So let's be sure to revisit it nearer to the time we're working on the Wilderness project. But for now, we'll call it there. What, Kieren, can I hand back to you? You can leave your mark with some awesome announcement reading.
So, Soul Wars is finally here. We released it yesterday. Take to the battlefield and fight in this 60 versus 60 classic minigame brought back for Old School. Use !Soul Wars to find out more. Of course, this week is also RuneScape's 20th anniversary. All 20 years. That wasn't the only thing to come with yesterday's update. We also have our 20th anniversary event. So, written by the one and only Ash. We don't want to spoil too much, so jump in game and help our classic Gnome Child return home. And what's a 20th anniversary without some amazing merch to go alongside it? Use !merch to grab yourself some exclusive goods like the Tutorial Island 20th anniversary pin, the gold vinyl edition of the RuneScape original soundtrack, or pick your side with the Avatar of Creation or Destruction pins, and they're all on screen for you to see right now. And just to also recap, before we went away for Christmas, you voted in quite a few content polls. So make sure to look forward to combat achievements, fishing skill boss Tempros, and the next Zaya quest, A Kingdom Divided. It's a whole bunch of content. It's all looking amazing and coming to you in the nearish future. How's that, Sween?
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Kieren. Towards the end of the stream, I've seen people spam about Group Iron Man, and someone said, this stream sucks. You answered no questions about Group Iron Man. I think we've been super clear that Group Iron Man comes after clans. Still aiming for this year. Sorry, you thought the stream sucked. but probably wouldn't recommend tuning in for the next few months if you're waiting for Group Iron Man news, I'm afraid. But to everybody else, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great to see you all after the Christmas break. Mod Ash, Ayiza, Kieren, thank you for joining me. Mod Spear and Mini Spear and Mod Sani, thank you for your work behind the scenes. Let's wrap up here. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.